Good morning. Just wanted to do another video. I've had a few people messaging some of the fans online, which is really nice, saying that I need to carry on doing the YouTube videos. Definitely had a bit of a break over Christmas and yeah, trying to sort the shop out and try and get everything sorted for the new year. Just remove some stuff from my pockets because they're a bit heavy. Yeah, I hurt my ribs kiting. When was it? Like a few weeks before Christmas, maybe like a month, 3 weeks before Christmas, kiting. Did a back roll by accident and then ended up kite looping and landing on my ribs. And I missed loads of the good waves we had over the Christmas break, which is a real shame. I managed to get in a little bit, but missed sort of like, I only really got like 10, 15 minutes before it started hurting. But back on the water now, and to be honest, I have been kiting quite a bit. The waves and the wind hasn't really been strong enough for proper windsurfing. But I have had a chance to go on this Dlab and the 76. I did a quick video when they first came out on the weight, because as soon as we opened them up and took them out of the packaging, they were obviously a lot lighter than anything else that we've had here in the store. And yeah, wanted to use them a bit before I did another video on how they actually feel on the water. But I've had a few people asking because it sounds like it's probably going to be their next purchase. And just wanted to give you our insight, or my insight, but also Nick's. But Nick Baker's been using these quite a lot, and I've got customers now that have quite a few of these. And yeah, we also did a demo day the end of October, and we had a couple of Dlabs there, and just give you some feedback really. So the first thing is just the quality, like the build quality of these boards is like, I've only really used Duotone Fanatics like for boards. I mean, I had some star boards when I was a kid, but most of my life I've only really had Duotone and Fanatic. These are, from my perspective, as much as I can remember, the highest quality boards that I've ever seen. It's surprising. I didn't realise how much of a difference CNC boards make to, I think, their mould. Like, I just raised my hand and it cut out the video. So yeah, the main thing I'd say is the quality. But the difference is these are CNC'd rather than sort of put in a mould and blown and then sort of hand finished. You can tell the difference, and actually next to each other compared to an SLS, there are parts of these boards where there's shape that I didn't realise was meant to be there, because I obviously had the SLSs first and I had, you know, all the boards that have been before these have been CNC'd. You don't really notice it until you see what the CNC is like. Just the tails and like everything is just a bit sharper. But yeah, the rear tail on this this Dlab compared to the SLS version, it is different. Even though it's meant to be the same board in a different construction, but it's because it's been manufactured in a different way, and the precision is different, and that's like what you feel on the water. People are saying that these boards are like slicker, like faster, but they're not technical, but they're more like accurate, if that's a way of describing how a board feels. I think they're just how they're meant to basically be, and how the designers, just checking the camera's working, yeah. How the designers obviously intended these boards to be, but if you've never had it, you don't know any difference. So there's nothing wrong with the SLS boards. I really don't think there is. And but yeah, like these are the next level. The weight obviously is the thing I did in the other video. So these are around 300 grams. I know people said the fins weren't in that video. They were tucked into the foot straps. These boards are about 300 grams lighter than the SLS. But what I haven't done is shown you the weight difference of an SLS to last year's board. So this Dlab is actually significantly, like almost, I would say, I need to check, but I think it's around ½ kilo lighter than last year's grips, Grip 4 and the Mamba. Yeah, which is a significant difference, and you really do feel it. And if there was going to be one negative, which like, just because I think you should talk like honestly about boards, the negative I would say of these boards is you can and could get overboarded slightly quicker. So getting the right size is more important, because they're, especially for lighter riders, because they are so light. If you try and use a 95, for example, in 30 knots, you're going to find the board is going to be very lively and come out the water quite a lot, and you're not going to have as much control as you might have had on the SLS or maybe on last year's board. But the massive positive of that is the bottom end. So you can use the board you ultimately want to be on in lighter wind conditions, or the right conditions. So I know before I ended up buying like an 86 instead of an 82. I had this conversation with someone just a couple of days ago. They got an 82, but just sometimes when there's current or the wind's not quite as strong, they feel like they need the 86 grip. These boards basically, I personally believe at the moment, they get rid of a lot of that problem. because they're light. They get up and going and get planing a lot quicker. And yeah, like that bit I was saying about they're more sensitive. They just do what you want them to do, which is why you buy a windsurfing board, and why you buy a good windsurfing board is because you want it to do what you want it to do. People, I guess, negative, people would say the price, but these are actually the same price as last year's Grip Team Editions and the Mamba Team Editions, but the weight is obviously significantly different, like, you know, over 500 grams different, and the build quality, as I've explained, is very different. So I don't think the price is really a negative. You're getting a lot more value for money. And then you've obviously, if money is a concern, the SLS is still a really good board. I'm personally using the SLS boards. It is a bit funny when you go between the SLS and the Dlab. Like, obviously, once you've sort of been there, you obviously don't want to go back with the Dlab. But like, I still have to go back to the SLSs because this is actually Nick's board, or the demo board. The only one that's actually mine is my 76, and obviously it's not always windy enough to use that. So my 85, my 95 are actually SLSs. There's not enough of these Dlabs around to like have that many demo boards for every shop. But yeah, we do have access to, I think Nick's got the 95, which is here. I'm not sure if there's an 85 Dlab, but there's definitely an 81 Grip 4 and an 87. I know he's using a lot and he's like fully in love with them. I mean, again, like, because there's this like big weight difference to what they were last year, I think like we used to compensate a little bit by using a 3-fin board because it had more volume in the tail. And it would get up and going a little bit easier. We have a lot of current here, so it would get up and going a little bit easier. So rather than using the Grip 4, which I think like obviously a lot of people would like to be on because it can be a bit more radical. You can get a more aggressive bottom turn. But the problem with 4 fins is there's more drag, and usually the tail is a bit thinner, so you don't have as much volume. So like I sort of was recommending a lot of people go for the Mamba or the Grip 3 when it came out. If they're like maybe a little bit heavier, or their ability isn't quite there to get up and get planing in the onshore conditions that we have. But I think a lot of those problems, they're still there, but they're definitely like reduced, and I feel like people can buy what they want now. Like Nick, I don't know if you'd like me saying this, but he's not the lightest rider. He's quite powerful. He's got big legs. You know, he's very strong. He used to use the Grip 3 and the Mamba a fair bit when it was lighter winds, but always wanted to be on the Grip 4. I haven't seen him on a Grip 3 this year since the Dlab came out. He's always on the 81, which in really quite light conditions, with the SLS Superheroes, which I'm definitely going to do a video about, and I've wanted to, but the weather's been so rubbish. I want to rig the sails up and show you what is good about them. But yeah, using the Grip, the Superhero SLS and the Dlabs, like Nick being, I think he's between 80 and 90 or 90 kilos, he's using the 81 when I'm on like, the 91 when I'm on my 85 SLS, and I'm only 70 kilos. And because I'm on the SLS, it's a bit heavier. So that goes to show that like the Dlabs are allowing people to use the boards they want to use. And, you know, obviously Nick's always pretty much ripping in those conditions. So yeah, where else to go with it really? Just interesting, obviously Dlab Falcons here. Not the best-selling board, but there's a lot of you guys that do race. This is Simon Pettifer's board. It's arrived. Again, these have been like hard to get hold of. But I used to slalom race. I slalom raced for, I don't know, like 7 years. Again, using Fanatic the whole way through. The board construction has changed quite a lot, and the weight's changed a lot. But just taking this out of the box because I had to nick the box for a customer because we sold a board. It's the lightest slalom board I've ever picked up. And talking to Simon and Jenna, who are in, where are they at the moment? They're in Tarifa. They've got a couple of these boards. I think they're sharing Jenna's boards. They're finding that, like, yeah, the weight obviously in slalom, just the same in any other discipline, makes a huge difference. You're trying to come out of a jibe mark, you know, maybe the wind's dropped a little bit, or you've scuffed a rail a little bit, or you're not being perfect on your feet. Having a light bit of equipment will help you get planing. If you've got weight, it's going to sink. It's going to be below the waterline. So, like, yeah. If I was racing on these, I think like it would be like a big step up from the boards that they were using last year. Yeah, again, they're going to feel very sensitive, which in flat water for slalom racing, which most of the events are in the UK. Internationally is obviously a bit different right now with the Super, I like to call it Super X, but Slalom X. they're just going to be like super lively and super like on the edge, which is what you really want when you're trying to ride as fast as you possibly can. But also, yeah, when you go into a bottom turn, or sorry, not bottom turn, you go into a jibe, you flick your rig and you try and get going. If there's no feeling of weight and there's no drag because the board is lighter, you're just going to go. And yeah, that's literally how you win. It's usually the jibe marks, like, and obviously keeping top speed. So being sensitive and being on the edge is really important. Yeah, so I've been using the 76 again. Like, it was a day where it was at Pagham. It was pretty offshore, pretty gusty on the inside. I was really worried about using a board that small. And to be honest, like last year and the year before, I used to love being on this board, but I've just always like cheated a little bit and used my 81 because I've been like, you know, no one likes being stuck on a really, really small board. But I wanted to try it. I hadn't had much chance to use the Dlabs, and I was really surprised again because of the weight. Like, obviously it was a small board, but because of the weight of the board, I think I was on a 4 meter, maybe I was on a 3.7 or a 3.4. I was still able to get around, and I've lost weight recently, but I wasn't actually that light then. I was about 74, 75 kilos then. Yeah, like, I'm just really pleased I've got it now, basically. And yeah, what I was talking about a minute ago about the weight, I think like you can get what you want, but yeah, just think about like maybe before, if you kept going up bigger sizes, I don't think you really need to now. Because I think if you're trying to use one board for the whole sort of like, one board to cover a big range, you know, you just want to make sure you get the right size. I'm trying to think what other people said at the demo. Yeah, there was quite a heavy guy using this 95. He absolutely loved it. And to be honest, he looked like he was ripping. The same when I've seen Nick. Like, I see Nick sail like most times that we go out, maybe like once or twice a week or once a fortnight. He like just looks faster on this board, which Nick is always like very powerful in very light conditions or very not very powerful waves. It just seems to be snappier, sharper, and more aggressive with this board, which, like, yeah, it's interesting because someone at that sort of level, you wouldn't think that the equipment would make that much of a difference, but it actually does. I think that would have the same impact, like that guy that came for the demo. Like, I've seen him ride a lot of times, but he was shredding. There's some pictures of him online, actually, from that demo. I'm trying to think who else has got one. There's a guy down in Hove, Andrew. He's got an 85. He's been posting about it quite a bit. He's really happy, and it seems to be the only board that he's using. He's jumping it. Like he said, it's just very light, and yeah, yeah. You just need to try one, basically. And I think once you try one, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. I'm trying to think what else is going on. Yeah, positives, obviously weight, build quality, just the finesse, like the way it's finished. Is like I haven't seen before really from Duotone or Fanatic before that. But yeah, the negative I'd say is it just could get overboarded because they are light. But that's the same with any board. If you have a range of boards, you know, that's why you have a range of boards. But I think the pros of having a lightweight, high performance board definitely outweigh that possibility that you occasionally might be slightly overboarded. You know, you'd rather get planing than never get planing. Yeah. And obviously, yeah, the price is the same as last year's, but if price is a concern, then obviously go for the SLS. In terms of stock availability, these have been like gold dust. Everything that we've had pre-ordered, that's sold. The only one we have left is an 85 Grip 3 Dlab. That's the only one we've got left here at the moment. Yeah, which I think for the UK is probably... I mean, some people might want the 95, but I would say the Grip 3 for like 90% of the conditions we get, especially along the south coast. The Grip 3 in the 85 or the 95 Dlab is probably one of the best boards you could buy right now. From my perspective, I haven't sailed many other brands, but in terms of the Fanatic and Duotone range, that board is like phenomenal. And I'm gutted that mine are SLSs now, but like, you know, these need to go to customers rather than just to me. So, but yeah, hope you like the video. I'll do a superhero SLS